sunrise ceremony. This time I'd like to introduce a very important part of this walk is acknowledging the lands that we cross, the homes that we're at. And today we're here in Washington, D.C. and Washington, and we're in the Piscataway Nation, their homeland. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mark Tayac.
Thank you, Jimbo. I'd like to once again welcome everyone from the longest walk here to our home. Again, my name is Mark Tayac, and I'm here tonight from the Piscataway Indian Nation. My family, we're from the village of Mayon, and I'm from the Beaver Clan. So when we talk about protection of sacred sites, and we talk about repatriation, the return of our ancestors, I'd like to tell you a short story then. Back in the 1920s, there was an archaeological dig that took place at our principal capital village that we called Mayon. Thousands and thousands and thousands of remains of our people were dug up by the Smithsonian Institute. Crates and boxes of our ancestors were sent to Washington, D.C. in what they called repositories. There was nothing more than cardboard boxes. A blockhouse was built over top of an ossuary of our people. And an ossuary is where there's a mass burial. Our people, when they passed away to the spirit world, they were put on scaffolds for a period of time until all the flesh and everything was removed and their bodies were cleaned. And in those ossuaries, there could be as little as 300 to 400, but ossuaries where there could be 1,000 or more. Our people, we experienced that second landing here, and smallpox and tuberculosis ran rampant throughout these areas. Rampant to the point where there's nations that are extinct today from smallpox and tuberculosis. So in the early 30s, these archaeologists at our village that's called Mayon, to our people, are what's known as Piscataway National Park. It's on the Federal Register as a native site. They classified it as the second largest archaeological find here on the East Coast. And they built a blockhouse, Come See the Indian. And they put our ancestors on display, where their bodies laid there naked for tourism, for people to come see the Indian. This is what their policy was to our people, genocide. And they were putting it right in everyone's face even. And because of the involvement that my family had with the Native movement, for years we fought and we protested to have those remains returned back to our Mother Earth right there at Mayon from that blockhouse. And in 1976, when the Trail of Self-Determination came to Washington, we asked for their help. And we told the Park Service at that time, one way or the other, our ancestors are going to be buried. You can take this blockhouse down and allow us to rebury them, or we're going to take it down. We have to honor the people that have gone into the spirit world. And they have a journey. And their journey cannot be completed until they can go back to our Mother Earth. At that time, we had that blockhouse taken down, and the Park Service did cooperate. But the site that I'm speaking about is also what we consider to be a sacred site. And our people inhabited that area for 15,000 years. And somebody might say, how do you know you lived there for 15,000 years? Because they studied our ancestral remains. they tested our ancestral remains. And those remains are still today that they took out of our burial grounds at the Natural History of Man. You can go into that museum and you'll find restricted areas, but your eyes can see it. You'll see file cabinets on the second floor there. And in those file cabinets are our ancestors. So when you speak about how our ancestors are being held captive, it's not just our ancestors from the Piscataway Nation that's on that floor, but there's many other Native nations that they have there. I believe that many of the conditions and the pain and the suffering that we see each generation of Native people go through, and we cannot heal from, because we are directly connected to our mother and to our father, and we are directly connected to our grandparents. So when we speak about the next 7 generations that we must think of, we're connected to those 7 generations before us. And how can we heal as a people as long as our relatives are crying? So in April of this year, when Ricardo Tapia, he came to our home, we were having one of our traditional ceremonies there at that village of Mayon. He asked us to help with the longest walk too. And in 1978, we also greeted the longest walk when they came here then. And we're still here today. And we've always extended our hands as brothers and sisters to all of our Native relatives when they came here. In 72, during the BIA, my grandfather was there, and my dad was there. In the Trail of Self-Determination when it came to Washington, D.C., the longest walk, the long walk for survival, and so on, all these years. It's a generational thing for us now today. So when Ricardo came and asked us to help, we all jumped right on board. The Park Service refused camping here. So everyone went to the Park Service, and we had numerous meetings and meetings. And then they told us that they're going to allow 11 campers, just 11 of you to camp here. That was it. Said, this is our land. This longest walk is coming here for the protection of our Mother Earth and protection of our sacred sites. You cannot stop this camping from happening here. And they gave us 900 camp spots then. And we went to all the various agencies to get the permits to make this happen. So once again, I'd like to welcome everyone that came here, all the work that everyone did. And we set up some teepees down on the mall on the 28th of June. And we set those teepees up for a prayer vigil to welcome the longest walk when it comes into Washington, D.C. And we were beating our heads against the wall. We're not teepee people. We're longhouse people. We don't have teepees. So where are we going to find these at? So everyone's calling everyone, and everyone's calling everyone else. And one of my brothers, Standing Bear from the Mohawks, I called him up. He had 2 teepees, and he dropped everything that he was doing to come down here to support the longest walk. We all have the same commitment, and we all have the same belief. So we put those up, and we started to talking to people about the longest walk. And people, we were showing them the blue postcards, the arrival date, July 11th. People started saying, well, the walk's going to end on July 11th. So I started telling people, no, the walk doesn't end on July 11th. That's when the real work is going to begin. Because one by one, we're going to get our ancestors back. And we're going to protect our Mother Earth. That's the duty that we have. That's the responsibility that we have as caretakers of this sector of the world. The Creator placed us here to take care of this Mother Earth, and that's our job and duty. But I would like to say to everyone who has these stories about how their grandmothers and their grandfathers and their spiritualities being taken away, that maybe somehow, some way, we can all come together. For when there's a problem in your home, it will affect all of us, not just your home. It's my grandmother now, it is my grandfather. So maybe somehow, before we all leave from this walk here, from this special moment in time in history, we can all have a moment where we can sit down, just remembering earlier today, when Philip Deere was around, and Philip would host all the youth and elder conferences. And from that, a council of elders came about. And we look at some of those people now, such as Philip Deere, and Frank Foolscrow, and Bill Wapapaw, and Vernon Bellecourt. These people are no longer with us, but they left the strength that they had within our hearts. They left their words in our minds, and we all have good and strong minds today because of that. So maybe we can take a moment somewhere in there that we can maybe form another council, not a council of elders, but a council where we can all work together to regain all of our ancestral remains one day back. Aho. Thank you, everyone.
I'd like to introduce Margaret. Was it Margaret? Marcia from Shiprock. She wants to inform us about some of the issues they're involved with.
It's a blessing.